Hey y'all, it's Christy from Teadoddles, and it is time for day 23 of the Maker Advent Calendar. I can hardly believe 2 days till Christmas, y'all. Today and tomorrow is our last day. So this one's, the clue for this one is bits and pieces so. If you have not opened your bag yet, you may want to save this until you open your bag. I don't know. This is leftover fabric from where I made your bags. So it's up to you if you want to open your bag first or open this first. If you haven't already opened your bag, okay? So I gave you some corners. This was the exterior fabric, interior fabric. The exterior is a batik. So it looks pretty much the same on both sides. The interior is just a cotton, so it's printed on one side, okay? And then you also got a piece of this, which is what I used for the pocket and the banding. This is a velvet, but it is a polyester velvet, so it's kind of slippery, okay? My piece is a little longer than what I sent y'all, but that's okay. So I think I'm pretty sure I sent you all four squares, because you get from the interior and the exterior, okay? Front and back, this is where I cut the corners out of the pieces, okay? So what we're going to do is make a little pouch. I'm going to show you how to hand sew it. If you have a sewing machine, you can obviously do this on your sewing machine. But I thought it'd be fun to do a little hand sewing project. So you're going to need your little needle and thread case, all right? And I'm going to just pull out a new one because I already have, I've used most of this one. And I may just go ahead and use the rest of it. Let's see how much I got left on it. I'm just going to pull out a new one. I'm going to pull out this black one over here. All right. Sometimes hand sewing is a good skill to know. I do my knot like I usually do. Actually, I think hand sewing is a great skill to know because everybody doesn't have a machine, and even if you do have a machine, there's some things when you sew them, you want to be able to have hand sewing skills to finish them up, okay? For instance, if you sew a nice blazer or jacket that has a lining, the bottom portion is usually hand sewn. The hem at the bottom, just to keep from having a sewn line across the bottom. So yeah, this is just a good skill to have. So what you want to do, I believe I set this up where you could do 4 pieces and then you'll have a piece for your back, okay? So this is not going to be lined. I believe the piece I sent you of this is long enough to do 4 pieces together. And maybe, I'm trying to remember, y'all. I know I sent y'all all 4 pieces because you can use it in your junk journal as well. But we need 1 piece for the flap, okay? Let's see if I'm in the screen. I'm trying to sit down and do this so I don't stand up and it'd be harder for me to see, but I gotta check see if I'm in the screen. So what you can do is you can mix up these, or you can just use all of one, whatever you would like, okay? So we're gonna sew 5 pieces together, basically. Well, the 5th piece, we gotta do something to before we sew it. And then, actually, you're gonna need 2 pieces for your top, and then just, you can do it however you want to. This is how I'm going to do it, okay? I'm gonna sew these 3 pieces together, and this is going to make up my flap, but you have enough pieces, you can do it however you want, and then this is going to be my back, okay? So these, what you want to do is make sure right sides are together. With these fabrics, it doesn't matter. This fabric, it would matter because it has a definite front and back. So you want your right sides together, which would be the sides, the front sides together, okay? I'm doing my needle. There we go. So we're gonna just start in a corner. And I'm starting at about, yeah, that's a little bit short of a 1/4 inch. If you want to mark a 1/4 inch, you can. I'm starting about a 1/4 inch from the edge, okay? Just gonna pull that up, and I'm actually gonna go back around, and I'm gonna come back up basically the same spot where that knot was. So I'm kind of going around that edge. I don't want to pull it too tight. It just helps hold that edge together when I do my other sewing, okay? So now I'm just gonna do a running stitch, kind of like what we did with our pin cushion, except I'm gonna make it shorter stitches, okay? I don't want super long stitches. All right, that's what I'm gonna do. So just right along here like this. So I haven't done a Vlogmas in a couple of days because I've been hanging out with my son. He's here to visit for the week, and we haven't really done much but watch movies and such. Just been a kind of lazing around, which is definitely something I needed to do for a little while. Been super busy. I went to Walmart last night because I had to get a trash can, a new trash can. I know that's exciting, right? But the lid on my trash can broke. So look, I've got a little sideways talking to y'all. So try to maintain that straight line. It's not a super big deal if you don't. I just wasn't paying enough attention to keep my straight line. So yeah, if you want to draw a line across there to stitch on, you can do that too. Well, it's just a little bit crooked. It happens sometimes on the machine too. So it's not a super big deal. All right, so now you can do just this type of stitching if you want. Open that up and you can see that still holds pretty well. This is coming loose a little bit because I haven't tied that off, but and that will hold together just fine. Now, if you want to, you can go back over it and like go in between to make it extra reinforced if that's something you would like to do. I think I'm just going to do it this way. Because you may use up more of your thread in your case if you go back over each seam like that. And I imagine there's going to be definitely some of you that don't do the hand sewing anyway and use the machine. And that's perfectly all right. Okay? I just think hand sewing is sometimes a relaxing thing to do. Right? This is not a super big project. Okay? So I've got that, and like I said, I like to do over the edges just to hold the edge in a little better when I get ready to sew my other pieces. And then I'm just gonna go up under here, put me a little knot, boom, and flip it off. Okay, so now I have 2 pieces sewn together, which obviously I was not, they might have been a little uneven. And then you just press your seam to one side. This batiks press really easy with your finger. You can use obviously an iron if you want to, but that helps hold your stitches in place. Now, fun little fact, when you sew quilts, this would be like a patchwork quilt sewing, you always press your seams to one side or the other. But when you sew clothing, typically the seam is pressed open. Isn't that funny? There are some cases where it's not, but most of the time they tell you to press the seam open. It's a very strange thing, but that's typically what happens if you've never sewn garments. All right, so then it's time for the next piece. I'm going to just go ahead and sew this off camera, and I'll be back and show you what it looks like when I have the 4 pieces together, okay? So, well, actually I'll be sewing this piece on it, and these 2 pieces I actually want to sew together, okay? Because it's going to be a flap, and it's going to be exposed, so you kind of want to have all these seams together. So I'm going to sew around 3 sides. Just, okay? Oh, my thread's sticking to me. And then we'll clip the corners and turn it inside out. So I'll show you all that once I get it sewed. So I'll be right back for that. Okay, I'm back, and I have I sewed my pieces together. I sewed this together. Something I forgot to mention is you want to fold this under twice, this under piece, just to keep that edge from being as exposed. There's going to be exposed seams in this anyway, so like I said, it's not lined. So what I'm going to do is just snip off these corners, just like that, okay? I'm going to turn this inside out. Giving it a good press is a good idea. And let me grab... Well, y'all, I was gonna say, let me grab my purple thing to poke the corners out, and I couldn't find it. So, yeah. You gotta find something to poke the corners out with. Sometimes a blunted pencil won't work. I don't want it too sharp, okay? Let's poke that on out there, okay? And like I said, there we go. Now, I did not get that seam very good, did I? Oh, I got a piece sticking out. All right, so now you got a little flappy top, right? There we go, see? I started my sewing career out hand sewing. I actually sewed a whole costume one time by hand. I used to do costume parties for my birthday because it's in October, and I had it was like a it was an old satin sheet that my parents had that they didn't want anymore. It was silver, so I laid on top of it and had someone kind of trace my outline, and then I made some adjustments, and then I sewed the front to the back, and I made a sorceress costume, and I did all that by hand, and it stayed together, so, you know, I consider that successful. So now, before I put this other piece, well, see, it's going to be smaller than this, simply because I've already turned it inside out, which is what I wanted to do. You can sew it on there before you turn it inside out. I didn't really think about that, but because my brain is not functioning correct today. I've never sewn a bag in my life. I'm just playing. So, only thing you gotta be sure of is when you sew this to here, that when you turn this inside out, that this is facing the inside, which it's not going to be if you sew it this way, because that seam is going to be here, and when you turn it inside out, this will be facing inside instead of this, okay? So you have to kind of turn it over and sew that seam together, okay? So you can sew that on before you turn it inside out, which would make more sense. Hello. Give me a bit, and I'm going to sew this one on the machine so we can make it go a little faster. Okay. I have my pieces together just like this. So now when I turn this the way I wanted it, tighter your hand stitches are, the less gaps you will have. I could have made mine a little smaller, but I was just kind of rushing. So now this is all on the outside, and that is on the inside where it should be. Although I should have added another stitch there because my stitches, I think my knot came loose, y'all. My stitches are coming out. So I'm gonna, because I was like at the very end of my thread. I was trying to make it work, so I'm gonna go fix that right quick, and I'll be right back again. Okay, I've got that fixed, so it's staying in place. So now we want to put this together, right? Which you could also obviously do before you flip the thing to make sure everything stays inside. I just wanted to show how that does. Let me flip that back out one more time. Alright, so we're going to put this is how we're going to put this together. We're going to put right sides together. Got thread everywhere. Okay. And your piece, it may not, if it doesn't match up right, you will trim it. You want this to come up past that seam. That seam should be heading in. Mine's a little crooked. It's alright. This is basic sewing, y'all. So I'm going to forgive myself for things being a little crooked. And so should you. Alright, so we want to trim it off even with that. So I've just folded that up. I'm going to cut right along here. There we go. Alright, so then we would sew right here, whether you're hand sewing or machine sewing. I'm going to machine sew this, like I said, to speed this up a little bit. I just wanted y'all to see it if you're hand sewing as well, some of the things. So I'll be right back, okay? Alright, I have all three sides sewn. Like I said, mine's a little crooked over here. Got a little out of whack. That's okay. I'm going to trim that just a little bit, because that really should have come up just like this over here. But it's crooked. It's fine. I can, what I could do is go back over this seam and fill in that gap if I wanted to. Right, from here to here. And sew that up. But I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Something to remember, if you're sewing this on the sewing machine, this is a denser fabric. You're going to want to make sure you have at least a 90-14 needle, and I recommend a Microtex needle just to get through that denseness, okay? So, I'm going to cut off my corners again. And something you would typically do up there that I didn't do is snip right into that corner. It just helps it turn a little better. Almost right to the stitches, okay? Now we're going to turn everything inside, right side out, not inside out. So, this was a very skinny pouch, maybe for pencils, maybe some knitting needles if you knit. It was just something fun I thought would be something that I thought would be fun to do with leftover fabrics. And if you sew and you have leftover fabrics, it'll give you a little idea of what to do. Now, typically I would line something like this, and you could sandwich this with this and then sew it, and it would be lined. If you sewed together these pieces, you could do that, or you can just do it just like what I did. And alright, my stitches are coming out. I should have made them a little tighter. So what you should end up with is this. Now you can go across this and stitch this down so it doesn't come open, because it's just meant to be a flap cover, right? I've got to poke my corners out down here. There we go. And there is my little skinny piece. I got little strings coming out everywhere. I'll just snip those off. Okay. So there is a little pouch. It's a little narrow pouch. And like I said, you can go over it. Since this is crooked, I would go back over that seam to make it, because these should meet up closer. Yeah. But this, you could stitch down by hand or machine or however you're doing it, just to keep that from being open, right? And then you have your little pouch down here. And yes, it will have exposed seams, like I said, but you could have stuck this down in there and done it similar to this and then sewed it together. Although that would make your pouch a little narrower because you'd have seams here, and then this wouldn't be the same width, if that makes any sense to anybody. But here is a little narrow pouch. I don't think it's, let's see if it's wide enough for my reading glasses. Maybe. Oh, look at there. Reading glasses will fit in there if you have glasses. All right. I'm definitely need to sew that down so that so that it can close, and then you have a little pouch, right, like this. So we would like something to close this with, right? We'll work on that tomorrow. So for the last day. But here is just a little thing to do with your leftovers, whether you hand sew or not, or whether you do it all on your machine. It's just a little idea, and you can also use it in your junk journal, like I said before. So that is going to be it today, and tomorrow is Button It, so you can guess what we're going to be doing to make a closure for our pouch. And it also will be the last day of the advent calendar, which makes me kind of sad, but I have enjoyed this, and I hope y'all have too. I will see y'all tomorrow, so y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.